What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jaden. If you've been paying attention to Land of Redemption the last few days, or the Discord, we've got some stuff on there as well, or information on there as well. You've probably seen the 3 Redemption Personas article that Tyler released just a few days ago here. And he goes over something in Redemption that's, I think, kind of fun, where it's not really playing the game, but just kind of thinking about how you play the game and what sort of things you enjoy about it. And he created these kind of 3 categories, or these 3 redemption personas, as he calls them, kind of loosely based on these kind of similar personas used in for Magic, and I'm sure for other card games as well, but Timmy, Johnny, and Spike. And he goes over kind of what those look like in Redemption in this article. Samson, Elijah, and Noah are the 3 personas that he describes, and I think it's a really cool article. You should check it out. You can think about which category you feel like you fit into most, or one. Maybe you're kind of a split between 2, or between even all 3, where you've got the Samsons that they like to be competitive, like to win, using the best strategies, the best kinds of cards. When I think about Samsons in Redemption history, I guess like some of the names that come to mind are like Josiah Beers, and I'd say probably like Josh Potratz. He's always kind of looking at, okay, like statistically and like objectively, which deck is going to be the best in the current meta and all that. So that's kind of the idea for Samson, whereas then Elijah is kind of sort of the opposite of looking to just have fun, I guess. Kind of play like, these are the themes that I really like, or the styles that I really like. I think of players, I think kind of like Jonathan Gomez. I think he's not completely Elijah, but like just how much he, tuned and really enjoyed, or has enjoyed playing the mill strategy, which, has never been terribly competitive in Redemption, but it is certainly fun. And, these players are more about fellowship and community and having fun, enjoying what they like to do. I think of like Bill Voigt, for those who have met him or been around, a while. So or you're familiar with that name. He's always got something that he likes to brew up, and he of course wants to be competitive and win games, but also it's more about building the deck and trying new things, and just really that fellowship and community, hanging out with other people. And then Noah is a little bit of the mix of the 2, where you don't necessarily want to play the meta decks like the best of the best, but you want to take something a little bit off of people's radar, outside the box, and play it competitively. Tyler describes it really well, I think, kind of favoring control decks, and kind of maybe on the more like combo side of things. And this is definitely where I see myself for the most part. And I think part of that has been a process, I guess, of getting to that point, of like wanting to make content, but also like just or I think that this kind of makes for good content, because it's kind of off meta stuff and fun to try out. And obviously the Elijah stuff is fun as well, where you're just kind of making a deck for fun, where you have a goal that's not necessarily winning the game, but just like achieving something else as kind of your win condition, just for fun. And but I think overall, I like to be competitive, but do it in a way that's a little bit outside the box, I guess. So this is definitely where I see myself, and there's definitely a few other players in this category as well. I think of Jared Strauss. He hasn't been active the last couple seasons here, but he, I think, like some of the Elijah type strategies or like cards, he was kind of big on like the resets, and Rossetti was a big deck at that point, where he was he was fairly competitive with it. And I think that that's kind of what pushes him more into the Noah type persona. And so, yeah, it's something to kind of fun. There's been a little bit of conversation on Discord of people being like, oh yeah, I think I'm, kind of this or this percentage of this percentage of the other persona. So yeah, definitely kind of fun to thought experiment, I guess, to go through as you are thinking about, just kind of how you like to play Redemption. And I think it's good to relate to people over that. And the fun, or I guess another fun aspect of how Tyler revealed all of this was that you can see there's these cards in here that are probably unfamiliar looking. And that is because they are spoilers from the new set that is coming out at Nationals 2025, which we did get confirmation that it's been sent off, and or I guess that the timing, I guess, should work out so that the cards will be available at Nationals, at least some to some degree. Normally, if Rob is bringing the cards himself to Nationals, he might not bring like uh, a full print run or whatever, but like bring like 100 boxes or some portion of that so that people can buy at least one box, and maybe two. We might see them for sealed deck. I don't think for booster we will, but I think I could be wrong, but it might be an option for sealed deck, at least as one of the packs that you can take for that. So I think that will be pretty cool. But I'm in this video just going to go over the spoilers that Tyler dropped here. There's another spoiler that we've gotten from the set that wasn't really a full card, but I'm going to talk about that as well. And then just kind of my take on what I think the set is going to be about, what kinds of things we're going to see. We don't have a name for the set as of yet. That was not intended to rhyme. But we do have some idea of the brigades and what themes and that kind of stuff that we're going to see. So I think, and one of the benefits, I guess, of me not being really involved much at all with playtesting this year is that I can make videos like this where I can just kind of speculate and hypothesize on the kind of things that we're going to be seeing in this new set. And I think that's a fun place to be, where I get to enjoy these spoilers with everybody else. It certainly makes for more engaging content in a sense, because I don't have the information to be able to spoil anything that I'm not supposed to. So I can sort of just talk freely, which is fun. Before we get into that, though, if you might be saving up because you're getting excited about these spoilers and you're like, oh, I can't buy anything new for Redemption because I have to save up for the new set. That's certainly fair. But if you're not in that position, if you're instead in the position of, I've got big tournaments coming up and I want to update my decks and make sure I have all the cards that I need, then you're going to want to head over to Your Turn Games, sponsor over here on the channel, and you're going to want to pick up some singles, pick up some packs, boxes, or even complete decks. If you're a complete beginner, or you don't know where to start with a deck, you can head on over and check out the contender decks and get something competitive right off the shelf. So anyways, that is a quick shout out to our friends over here at Your Turn Games. We appreciate their sponsorship of the channel and partnering with them. So head on over there to pick up anything you need before the big tournaments come up, because they kind of sneak up on you quick. So, all right. So now let's talk about these three spoilers that we got. So the one for Samson, I'm going to make it bigger here so you guys can see. The one for the Samson persona is a card called Enjoy Their Hands, a good enhancement. It's a 2/5. The special ability is negate an evil card, reveal a hand. You may play an enhancement regardless of brigade. So the way that works is because there's a colon after reveal a hand, that means that the next part is related to the revealing of the hand. So playing an enhancement regardless of brigade is from the hand that is being revealed. So there's two ways that you can play this, I guess. Well, maybe more, I guess, if you're playing a multiplayer game, like with teams or something. But Oh, that's actually kind of fun. We should talk about that in a second here. But whosever hand you reveal, whether it's your own or your opponent's, you can play an enhancement from that hand, regardless of brigade. That gets played on your character, and then after battle, it gets discarded. So you are getting some pretty good value here if you kind of land this or time this correctly, or I mean, I guess optimally, um, where you're playing it to negate their enhancement, maybe their battle winner, or I mean, it is just an evil card, so you can negate something in their territory. You can negate their evil character ability, negate their Prince of the Air, assuming you haven't, triggered a Judean mediums or something. But so maybe you're playing this while you're in special initiative, and then you can reveal your opponent's hand, and you can take their best good enhancement, which seems really great. You get hand information, and you can take their best option for rescuing. So it's a pretty good value card, and I think that's why Tyler put it in the Samson persona, because it's a fast enhancement, as Jake likes to say. You can play it in special initiative, and you get hand information. It's a playability, plus it's just a high potential for value kind of card. Like Pilfer was kind of a card similar to this, like from GOC, where it was can negate an opponent's card this turn to draw one, and then you can take that card. It's just like it does a lot of different things that basically end up with you having more cards than you spent, and enjoy their hands is kind of similar, where the net resource balance, I guess, is heavily in your favor, assuming that this goes through. Now, play an enhancement does have a default to, like, if it's on a card or it has to be on a card in battle unless otherwise specified. So it doesn't mean that you can like play one of their evil territory class enhancements on a character in your territory. You can't play one of their evil enhancements in battle, because you can't play evil enhancements on good characters. So you're not converting enhancements or anything. You're not taking away any of their evil enhancements. So they might have a way to respond or to negate, but oftentimes they're going to have to negate the enhancement that you play, because if you can play a battle winner from their hand, you're putting them in special initiative. They have to negate the card that's putting them in special initiative, which is the card that you played from their hand. So it's kind of forcing them to use their own cards against themselves, which is something that we have kind of seen with Thieves and Joshua and all of these like taking cards, but this one kind of does it by surprise. So I think that that's a cool aspect of this. Some of the synergies I think that will work well with this are cards that give hand information. So 20 shekels is a big one. Of course, hidden treasures is going to work with the prophets theme, which is probably where this is going to fit in the most cleanly, being Green Brigade. It's also an Isaiah enhancement. So Isaiah, Peace Proclaimer, the roots Isaiah, he makes Isaiah enhancements cannot be negated. So this one is going to be among those. And of course, this isn't really the enhancement that you're going to want to be CBN. It's good, or it's nice that way if you can, but it's the enhancement that you play after it that's actually more likely to be winning the battle. So that's the one that you kind of want to be more cannot be negated. But Isaiah can also recycle this one by underdecking it from your discard pile and all that. So there's some good Isaiah enhancement synergies that I think will work well with this card. So I think that that's pretty cool. And then if you do look at your opponent's hand, you're like, oh, their good enhancements are terrible, or they're not good for me. They're not going to work super well. Like, maybe they have Authority of Christ in hand, but you don't have a Meek Disciple that you're playing it on, so they're just going to be able to negate it, and you have a better option in your own hand. You can still use this to negate their battle winner in special initiative, and then reveal your hand and play an enhancement. You do get, you do give your opponent that information, of course, of like, okay, well, I'll have to show you what's in my hand, but you're revealing something that will hopefully result in their demise, or you winning the battle at least. So that I think is a cool option, I guess, that you have, or like it's cool that this card is so flexible, but it's very simple. And so yeah, I think that's a really cool design, how that all came together with a card like this, and it's a fun, unique ability that we haven't really seen before in this exact way, at least. So I think that that's going to be it's going to be a fun card to play and try out, and also cool for drafting. I think in booster draft, like if you've got a green hero and a bunch of other non-matching brigade enhancements, then this one can be good because you can kind of wait to see, okay, which of these enhancements am I going to need, or is it like going to be best in this situation. You can reveal your own hand, and you're kind of showing all your tricks and whatever, but you can then pick the right one after you've negated their evil card and kind of have more information. You've seen what they blocked with and that kind of stuff. So definitely cool for booster draft, and you're gonna hopefully be able to use this against your opponent well as well, where they're probably gonna have some good enhancements that they might not have a hero yet for, so they haven't been able to play it, and then you can be like, oh well, let me take care of that for you. I'll play it, make sure that at least one of us gets some value from it. So this should be a fun card. Maybe make some enemies through it, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And then let's also talk about teams. I think it could be a fun way to work together with your teammate to maybe you've got some fun ability or like good enhancement that has a strong or could have a big potential or impact potential, and so you're like, oh, do you have that in hand? Because I could really use that right now. Maybe it is Authority of Christ, or you have built your decks for that purpose. And so you do get to, or you do have the option to reveal your teammate's hand, and then you can play an enhancement from there, which, that's something that teammates have always kind of wanted to do. That was like old school teams before it was even official, where it's like, oh yeah, I can play enhancements on my teammates' characters, and now it's like, all right, now you really can. You can work together, and so some of the downsides, I guess, with this card, if your opponent has hand protection, then it basically just becomes negate an evil card, play an enhancement, also show your opponent what you have in your hand. So it doesn't really work to get through hand protection, or like to get that value if your opponent does have hand protection. So you do have to figure out ways to deal with that. Although, I guess in green, you're probably going to want to figure out ways to deal with your opponent's hand protection anyways. Getting hand information with green is nice. It's good. Or dealing with their hand protection, their deck protection, you're going to be wanting to attack a little more. Green is generally more of a control kind of color, or brigade in Redemption. So I think that you're probably going to want to deal with those anyway. So maybe that's not too big of a deal. Yeah. And then the other downside, I guess, is just that, you might whiff if you reveal your opponent's hand and you don't have the information. Just, be prepared to not have something to play. The upside of that, though, is that it is negate an evil card. So it's not just like an interrupt the battle, play the next enhancement, but it's negate an evil card. So that's done. And if you don't have anything to play, then, well, at the very least, you've negated their thing, you've stopped their thing, and you're forcing them to respond or to have something else. So that's a benefit there. Since this is the first card, we're also going to make some notes on the set icon for the card, because that is available here, or is not redacted as the card number is, and also the rarity of the card. Those are not shown here, but let's see, I can kind of zoom in a little bit on the image, or on the set icon image. You can kind of see it down in the corner here. It's a little book, presumably the Bible, with some open hands the bottom, which yeah, kind of works out. Enjoy their hands. You can enjoy these hands at the bottom as we kind of figure out what this set is all about. And I was kind of thinking about like, okay, what could this mean for the set, name potentially, or what the set is about? It kind of, open hands is kind of like receiving something, or like ready to be used by God, I guess, or I don't know. So maybe like something with the prophets being ready. We have an Isaiah card here. The other ones we got spoiled were Daniel cards, so we'll kind of look at that. So I don't know, something to kind of think about as we're looking at these other cards here, and kind of speculate about what's the direction with this set, because it's kind of brand new. It's wide open. We just finished up the Israel block, and so it's not necessarily guaranteed to just be like, okay, after Israel's inheritance, then what happens in the story. They might have jumped a little bit ahead here, and it kind of seems like maybe that was the case, because Israel's inheritance kind of, I mean, it gets a little bit into the story of David, like David's mighty men, um, but we've got a little bit of a gap in between there, where there's like Solomon and the rest of the naughty kings. Well, and, yeah, there were some good ones as well, but that we're kind of not focused on as much, I guess, in the prophets, even though they were kind of during the same time, at least for a number of them, a number of the prophets were kind of in that time. So I don't know, but maybe it's like just a major prophets kind of focus here. But anyways, it's all kind of speculation. So we'll see, I guess, kind of as we go on to the next card. Maybe that will kind of give us a little bit more information here. So this one, the final act, is the Elijah card that Tyler spoiled in the article, and that's because this card is just kind of over the top, does some weird stuff. It's not necessarily powerful, but the effect, it has a big effect, I guess. So it has Unity, Heroes, Daniel reference. Any card with Unity usually means it's going to be doing something good or something impactful. So this is a good enhancement. No abilities or no numbers. It's a white enhancement. It says shuffle all evil cards in a territory. You may shuffle your hand to draw 8, regardless of protect abilities, cannot be negated. So right away, 2 big modifiers there, regardless of protect abilities and cannot be negated. So this card is going through no matter what, as long as you have Daniel Unity. That's the as long as all of your heroes have a Daniel reference. And I think this is maybe the card that I think Tyler kind of teased with, like early in set design, of like, okay, what if we did like Unity, all of your cards are Daniel cards, and you shuffle, but like basically just in a new beginning type of effect, and but like only for your opponent, like where you shuffle all of their cards in their territory, and then like or like, is this too much? But it's like all of your cards have to be Daniel, so it's a tough Unity to meet. And it's just kind of like an idea that he threw out a long time ago, and I'm wondering if this is maybe kind of the the outcome of that, where it kind of got tamed down just a little bit, and now it's shuffle all evil cards in a territory. So usually you're probably going to want to shuffle your opponent's cards, and then you can shuffle your hand to draw 8. So it's kind of some interesting balance here with this card. On the one hand, it's kind of a late game card where your opponent is set up, and they've got a bunch of evil characters or defense down. They've probably got some evil fortresses down, and you can play this to kind of set their defense back quite a bit. In type 1, I don't know that this is necessarily going to be that strong of an impact in just generally speaking, because games are not usually lasting that long. However, I mean, with decks now as they are somewhat being a little bit more balanced, I think that this could actually, have a pretty decent impact even on like turn 2, where maybe you attacked on turn 1, your opponent had like a 3 thief band or something where they got to take your some cards from your hand, and they got to draw some cards of their own, and they put down ambushing bandits, and they've just got a full thieves band of thieves going on, and den of thieves, and it's loaded up, whatever. Like, this can be a good one to try to pull off. Of course, thieves might just be able to take it before you can play it, but it does go through plunderers because it cannot be negated. So and I guess they're probably just going to put all their evil cards in battle before you get a chance to play it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was a bad example, but I think that there are definitely some cases where shuffling all evil cards in a territory is going to be impactful. Most of those cases might just be in type 2 though, so that is something that I'm interested to see with this card. Is like, okay, how is the type 2 impact going to look? The tricky part with this one is that with the Unity Heroes Daniel reference, of course, we're probably now expecting, okay, we're probably going to see some Daniel theme kind of revamp with this set. But right now in the current card pool, there are no ways, to my knowledge, to play this pre-block. Like Ride On Victoriously, or I guess Awesome Things only plays on a meek hero. So you would need a meek Daniel hero in order to meet the Unity here, which I don't think we have at this point. And then and it would also have to be able to play a white enhancement. And then you also, what was the other thing that I was, there went my train of thought, and it's just completely gone. But there are no choose the blocker heroes in the Daniel theme, or Daniel with the Daniel reference at this point in the game. So it's hard to set it up without your opponent really having a chance to interact or to respond in a way where, if they suspect that this is coming, maybe they can play around it a little bit. And also, it's not a battle winning effect, so your opponent might not even be super worried about it, especially if they're already blocking. They've already got a character in battle. Maybe they sort of suspect it, so they do a band with as many of their characters as possible, so that their territory is as empty as possible. So that first part of the ability, that shuffle all evil cards in a territory, I think it's a strong, or it's an impactful ability, but it is situational, where, like, I don't think this is a card that I'm going to want in my main deck, for at least for that ability. For the second ability, that's maybe a little more in that direction, where here's kind of the balance or the conflict I was talking about with this card, where the first ability is kind of better later in the game. The second ability, where you can shuffle your hand to draw 8, is actually kind of a more of an early game benefit, or like you're gonna see more of an impact, I guess, if you're able to pull this off in the early game. So I think that one of the ways that you could approach this is, if there are ways to get this enhancement out. So if there's like search for a Daniel enhancement, or a Daniel card, or something like that, that might come out with a set, like, getting to this, I think will be strong if you can basically like put down a bunch of characters and then play this and draw back up to 8 cards, do like a refill. I think that that's pretty strong, or has some potential at least. You do have to shuffle your hand. Like, I don't think there's any way that you can like cheese this, I guess, where like you keep some of the cards in your hand but still get to draw 8, because it is a cost benefit. So if you don't shuffle your hand, then you do not get to draw However, shuffling a hand of 0 cards is possible. So if this is the last card in your hand, I think Tyler mentioned this in the article. If this is the last card in your hand, you can play it during battle and then shuffle your hand and just draw 8, or shuffle nothing and draw 8 cards. Which, one enhancement that if there was just a good enhancement that said draw 8 cards, obviously you'd be playing that. This is certainly more situational, but it is, still has that potential. I guess that's kind of the ceiling, in addition to being able to shuffle evil cards in a territory. Now, one of the things to note, I guess, with this ability is that it says all evil cards in a territory. That that article right there is important because it's not just in your opponent's territory. It's not just in territory. That would be kind of silly if it was just that option, but you kind of have a little bit of that built-in flexibility where maybe I want to shuffle the evil cards in my territory for some reason. And before you say, what are you like, why would you want to do that? There are, I think, some situations where that can be helpful. If you do have a lot of defense down and your opponent has like choose the blocker, cards or heroes that they are kind of raring to use, getting ready to be able to use, then I think taking some of your evil characters off the table can be nice. And you even have the opportunity immediately after that to draw back into them. So you can get back into some of your defense if you shuffled it away. The, I think, biggest implication here that I could think of at least was with your 3 woes. If you play 3 woes as evil and, you probably like during a block or something like that, you negate their good enhancement or their hero. Maybe you played it on as evil on like turn 1 or 2, but now you want to be able to reuse it, or you want to be able to play it as good, then you can use this to shuffle it back into your deck, and then maybe even draw back into it if you do shuffle your hand to draw 8. So I think that's one of the kind of main situations, I guess, where you might want to shuffle the cards in your own territory. I was trying to think if there were really any other reasons to, and if you guys can think of any good ones, let me know. The only other thing I could think of was like placed cards that your opponent placed in your territory. So like a possessing spirit or sorted spirit or something like that, where they have a card that's placed in your territory that's giving them some sort of benefit. A lot of times with possessing spirit these days, though, they're not going to give you a chance to do it. Like they just place in your territory and then choose it to block. But that's not always going to be the case. And so I think that there are situations where that could be useful. Who knows if there's going to be a new like Abomination of Desolation type of effect. Although I guess that placed in your own territory, but something like that where it's like an enhancement that places in your opponent's territory and has some sort of drastic effect for them. What was A-bomb placed in your own territory? I think so, but now I gotta look just to confirm. No, okay, yeah, it did place in an opponent's territory. Yeah, I knew what I was thinking about. If used by a Greek, place an opponent's territory each time an opponent draws, except during draw phase. You can discard a card in that territory except a Lost Soul. That was an old school Rock of Ages card, a classic card, with a Daniel reference that I think could certainly see a reprint in this set. And so maybe if your opponent is placing cards in your territory such as that, then you'd want to shuffle it with the final act. So definitely a cool card. So we've now seen green, we've seen white, and let's go and see what the last card that Tyler spoiled here was, which is an evil card, a black evil enhancement called Thrown to the Earth. It is an XX enhancement, where X is the number of meek lost souls you control. And the ability is discard a hero or up to X heroes. You may draw X, limit 3. So 2 separate abilities here again, and 2, I don't know, fairly interesting, I guess, or like, significant abilities, and some very significant X values here where A lot of times when you see an X value on a card, it's going to be, you know, maybe like 3 or 4 is like kind of the most, especially if it's like a X in the numbers. Like, I don't know, maybe the biggest count for an X is maybe like number of cards in your hand or something like that, for some of these X identifiers. And this one is actually, it might be the one with the biggest potential. I mean, like some of them are, number of, uh, you know, opponents' brigades or something like that, which is maxed out at 16. I guess number of cards in hand would also be maxed out at 16. Some of them are like the number of heroes you control, I think, but that might just be on a character, not an enhancement. So let's see. I'm thinking like King Jehu is the number of characters of matching alignment in play. So, that could be pretty big, or like Silly Women is the number of evil characters in play, right? Or at least the old one was the number of evil characters in play. So that can get, pretty big, but number of Meek souls you control, that I think can get, out of hand. Uh, it's probably not going to be a lot, like depending on your deck build. Like, I guess maybe I'm kind of just thinking of like big clay kind of stuff, because Tim's been doing a lot with that recently, where he's got 13 or 14, I think usually 13 in the first, so 13 Meek Lost Souls, and then using Harvest Time to put them all into play. But also, Meek Lost Souls includes captured humans. It includes tokens that are created. And so if you capture a lot of characters, if your opponent's giving you tokens, if you're giving yourself tokens with the Lost Soul, then you can get this X up to be pretty big, or if you're just playing Meek Lost Souls. And so this ability to discard up to X heroes can be pretty strong, especially if you can back it up with some kind of toss the next, maybe. I guess I don't know if there are any of those in black, but if you can make it CBN with something like Cicera, then you can really do a lot of damage here. You can only draw up to 3. They did put a limit on the drawing aspect, but the hero discarding is unlimited. And also, it doesn't necessarily have to be played in a deck that uses Meek Lost Souls. I think if a Daniel theme is synergistic enough, or like where there's payoffs for having Daniel cards, which we see with cards like the Foretelling Angel that are currently in the card pool, and surely there will be more of those in the coming set from the looks of it. Then this is a decent card maybe to just even put in the reserve. If your opponent is creating tokens in your land of bondage, then you can get a little more value from it, but you don't have to have any Meek Lost Souls in order to just get this discard a hero effect. But usually you're going to want some for this payoff of being able to discard a lot of heroes, and it's up to. So even if there are a bunch of Meek Lost Souls that you control, you're not going to have to take out any of your own heroes, which is kind of nice. Although it would have been kind of interesting or kind of funny, I guess, to see if how that would play out if it was just like, or X heroes. So it's like, oh, I have to discard 14 heroes. Let's do all of yours, and then however many left of mine. Probably best that they didn't do that. Like, I don't think the card is that strong to need that sort of balancing, but could be kind of fun. That was like old school Hammond's plot, where if you wanted to play it on turn 1, you might be discarding 1 or 2 of your own characters in addition to your opponent's hero or heroes. All right. So another thing to note with this is that the XX or this X identifier also shows up in the stats line here, where the strength and toughness are also both X, which has a few different implications. I think probably the most significant one is for tossing it. With toss, you decrease an opposing character by X, where X is the strength of the tossed enhancement. So, or I guess you decrease them by XX. So both of their stats. I maybe shouldn't use X in this case because that's the identifier, but you decrease them by the strength of the enhancement. You decrease both of their stats. So against a 3/5 hero, if I decrease it by 3, or if I toss an enhancement with strength of 3, I decrease that hero 3/3. They become a 0/2. So with this one, you can toss it for quite a bit if you have a good number of Meatclaw souls. Like, generally speaking, the highest strength that we see on evil enhancements is 6. So that's like, for normal enhancements that don't have an X in the stat line here. Like, I think the only other one that I can think of right away, I guess, that has like a pretty big potential for tossing is like Jealousy from Lineage of Christ, which has a strength of X, where X is the number of heroes in play. So that one can get pretty big and can usually toss for a good amount, but the ability on it isn't quite as good. It's not quite as flexible or strong. So this one can be used, whether you're tossing it or not, to be pretty good, I guess. And also, I think the fact that you can toss it and the card is called Thrown to the Earth, I'm going to guess that was intentional, but if not, then, what a happy coincidence, I guess, that, thrown to the earth, being tossed. So anyways, if you have a lot of Meatclaw souls, you can toss this for quite a bit. If you are in like a black Soulhide deck, you're going to probably be playing Herod's Temple, assuming, you're talking New Testament black Soulhide, which is kind of the main way to do it right now. Who knows what the Daniel theme is going to introduce. Of course, we have the Meek Daniel Lost Souls, the Lineage of Christ promos that were released. So, if you are, depending on like how many Daniel Lost Souls with special abilities that they give us in this set, maybe you're wanting to just play all those Meek Lost Souls so that you can max out on your Foretelling Angel and your Daniel Unity and that kind of stuff. And clearly there's going to be some Meatclaw Soul payoffs in the set that you're going to be able to use. And I mean, at the very least, I think we can talk about Booster Draft again with this card. On the last card, usually if it says Unity on it, you probably don't want to play it or pick it in Booster Draft. But for this one, you're oftentimes going to be controlling a lot of Meatclaw souls. If you're doing multiplayer Booster Draft, you can make a lot of people unhappy by discarding a lot of heroes that from among different players' territories, and then also drawing some cards. So this is pretty good one. The other implication, I guess, that I didn't bring up of the XX in the stat line here is that if you do want to just play this to get a bunch of damage, like, there are no modifiers on this, so it's not CBN, no CBI, or even CBP. So it's going to be easy to negate. And so if you put your opponent in special initiative, they're going to have a chance to negate it before you draw off of this. And so you might not get like any benefit from this other than maybe the numbers are helpful. But the numbers are unhelpful if you're not putting your opponent in special initiative and you just want to do some damage. Like, they have a negate and you're just hoping to do some damage before your character goes down or something. Basically, the more heroes you can discard, the higher your X is, then the more likely it is that this is going to pass initiative. So if you have 2 Meatclaw souls, you can only discard 2 heroes, but it's only a 2/2 enhancement, so maybe you're not passing initiative. But if, let's say, you've got 5 Meek Souls, you get to discard a bunch of heroes, but you also are probably passing initiative against some number of uh, lower number of heroes, unless your opponent is banding, has a huge band or whatever. But um, yeah, I think that can be uh, a, a downside, I guess, if you want to just do some damage with this. So, is this a main deckable card necessarily? It's hard to say without seeing the rest of the theme. Like, if there are good synergies for Daniel enhancements, then for sure, I could certainly see it being played in the main deck. If you are running Meek Lost Souls, it's a good way to accelerate. But I can also see it being a good reserve card, a good finisher. You can get it with Wages of Sin. You can get a good payoff from it by just taking out heroes in your opponent's territory. You could try to play it in a side battle, take out a bunch of heroes, and not worry as much about your opponent having a way to negate it. And then also you get to draw some cards. So I think that's reserve might be the better place for it, at least at this point. That's kind of my thought, I guess, is that this is more of a reserve card, just because it's not fast in the sense of you can't play it in special initiative, and it has, I guess, more potential for a bigger impact in the later game. So those are kind of my thoughts. It certainly can go in the main deck, and I'm sure it will in some decks. And maybe especially if you want to toss it for a good amount, build a deck with foreign spearmen or something, and just thrown to the earth and jealousy and these high strength evil enhancements. It seems like it would be kind of fun. So, anyways, so yeah, this is a black enhancement. So we have kind of 3 brigades that we are confirmed to be in the set, and we actually have a 4th one from a spoiler early on from Gabe about was it like a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, where this card here was spoiled. We don't have an ability or anything of the effects of this card, or even confirmation that it's necessarily in the set. I mean, I assume so, but Gabe was kind of tentative in the way he spoiled it, of like, oh, this might be a little bit of what you see when you are opening packs at Nationals. And this was kind of early on, I think, before things in the cards in the set were finalized. So who knows if this is exactly what this card will look like, even just on the top half that we have. But it does show us that there's some silver in the set, and probably, obviously we know some black as well. And it looks like there's some kind of spiritual warfare going on here. Some people were thinking maybe it has to do with the story of like the Prince of Greece or something, where there's a card that's kind of has 2 sides of it a little bit, or like, I don't know, Prince of Persia would almost maybe fit the story a little bit more. It's been a little while since I've kind of refreshed on my Daniel spiritual warfare kind of stuff, but like thought it was like when Michael returned to fight the Prince of Persia or something, was holding up Gabriel or something like that. But anyway, it would make a little more sense if it was Prince of Greece, considering it's or relating to that description, I guess, or account, because it is a black evil enhancement. So I don't know, who knows? But that means that either way, for the game purposes, we have 3 good brigades, pretty much all but confirmed: silver, green, and white, and at least 1 evil brigade confirmed here, which is black. So we're a little bit more open on what could be on the evil side of things, and it's probable, I guess. I would expect, based on recent sets, that it's the focus is going to be on kind of 3 good themes and 3 evils themes. We saw that with Israel's inheritance and Israel's rebellion, and for sets of those sizes, that kind of seems to be the best. Maybe this set is bigger. I don't know. There were some kind of weird spoilers going on in the spoiler channel. Kind of hints, not actual spoilers, but just like maybe it's a bigger set. I don't know. It was kind of cryptic, but from what we had heard, it seemed like 129 was kind of the set size going forward, at least like for the foreseeable future. So that's kind of my assumption here, but who knows? Could be wrong. They could be surprising us with some fun. Well, I don't know, some bigger set size, I guess, is what I was getting at there. But anyways, if it is a smaller set size, 3 good themes, or at least like 3 good brigades, probably, where we have silver, green, and white, and then if there are 3 evil brigades, we know at least one of them is black, and based on Daniel and Isaiah being kind of the 2 references that we have, or the 2 books that we have from some of these cards, then it seems like it's kind of open as far as what it could actually be for brigades, but for like kind of the themes, or factions, whatever you want to call them, we definitely have some Babylonian stuff in, maybe not as much, I guess, in Isaiah, but in Daniel. Tyler spoiled it, or I guess poked at the fact that there might be a new Nebuchadnezzar that we'll get in this, and he actually said it could be fun to use with this card, which is green. So who knows if there's a Nebuchadnezzar that's like actually just a flip card that's not like you don't have to convert it, like the POC one where you have to. It begins as an evil character, and then if you meet certain conditions, there's a Daniel hero in play. I think you can convert it to a hero after battle. So maybe there's like a Nebuchadnezzar the restored, or whatever the adjective is, or for him. But maybe there's like a completely hero side that you can just choose to attack with right away. It could be kind of cool. We do see Nebuchadnezzar's conversion toward the end of those first few chapters of Daniel that are more like historical account, I guess. So that could be cool. It could be something that we see. So I'm guessing there's going to be some Crimson, some Babylonians. Isaiah, we see themes more along the lines of like Assyrians are kind of big for Isaiah, but we also get a lot of other stuff mixed in. I mean, like in the Prophecies of Christ set, if you look at all the cards that are from Isaiah, you're like, oh wow, there's some Egyptians in there. There's some demons, and some a bunch of other kind of themes that are represented, or evil themes that are represented in this big book of prophecy. So it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't give us a whole lot of information at this point. We might see some brown, some Persian stuff in the book of Daniel, and there's some of that in Isaiah as well. If you look at the POC cards, like I was talking about, so could be some brown, could be even some orange. I wouldn't be surprised if there was orange with the kind of silver counterpart. I guess that we see kind of the spiritual beings, or interactions, warfare throughout Daniel, and a little bit with Isaiah as well. So that could certainly be it. If I were to take a guess, then from all of that, and kind of based on the brigades that we've gotten in recent sets, I would probably have to go with black, crimson, and orange as our evil brigades. But I don't know, like we got brown with like Israel's rebellion, so maybe we're not going to see that quite as much. But I don't know, seeing some more Persian stuff would be kind of cool. So I don't know. Maybe there will be a little bit of a splash in there. It doesn't have to be 3 brigades. It's not necessarily like a hard and fast rule as far as I know for the design team, but that could be where it's at. So I unfortunately did not catch much of the playtest games that Chris was playing with the deck at Kentucky State. I know there was some green and some silver and, stuff going on there, and I know that there's been some black. So I mean, I guess that doesn't really give any more information other than just confirming that these aren't just like one-off cards in the set, where it's just like, oh yeah, I was just putting a random green enhancement. So um, all in all, I think these were fun cards to be spoiled and get to incorporate with Tyler's article. And I thought that was all really cool how he was able to kind of showcase these 3 different personas with these cards. And so I think that that was fun. I'm looking forward to them doing more of these kind of spoilers and, kind of engaging community kind of things with the spoilers. And so that's going to be kind of fun. Spoiler season is upon us. And I don't know, how much of the set that they're planning to spoil before nationals. I think from what I could tell, they're trying to keep it, as much of a surprise as I mean, they can keep it all a surprise, but I think it's, they're kind of erring on the side of we want people to be surprised when they're opening up the set, not necessarily, when the cards are being spoiled. And I think we can all agree that that is kind of fun to be spoiled by opening the cards ourselves, even though we're all kind of pushing for like, oh, we want to see the new cards, we want to see more spoilers. So I think we can all continue to poke and prod at the elder team, and I know Tyler's got some more stuff cooking as far as getting spoilers and set design approach and those kind of things. So keep an eye on the content creators and Land of Redemption and all that for that kind of stuff. And we'll see more of this from Tyler, and I'll probably do more videos similar to this with that information, because again, I'm kind of getting all of this at the same time. So kind of just getting to talk through my thought process with these new cards and just my initial impressions where I think they're going to be useful. I think that's kind of fun to do, and I'm certainly interested to hear your guys' thoughts on these as well. If there's anything I didn't mention or didn't bring up with these cards, put it in the comments. Let me know. That will be fun to discuss. And I guess with that, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Next week, we should be back with some more Lackey Grand Prix gameplay, kind of our regularly scheduled programming, so to speak, at this point. But the Lackey Grand Prix 21 is now gotten kicked off. The first round pairings are up. So next week's video will likely be that first round game, which is going to be against Renee. So he and I have not played yet, but we got it on the schedule and should be set for you guys then. Should be a fun one. I've got a deck that I think should be fun in the works. I haven't quite put the final touches on it yet, but I think it should be a good one. So should be a fun game. So anyways, with all of that said, we'll go ahead and catch you next time.